welcome to another electrifying episode of the High Voltage Live Show. I'm your host, Willie Snyder from Nat King Toad, coming to you live from the Mile High City in Denver, Colorado, joined by my awesome co-host, Mr. King James Stalkup, over there in Longhorn Country, giving old hook 'em horns from the Mile High City, or wherever you're hanging out at. And we already have David Englehart, Mr. E, Electrical Wizardry, in the house.
I'm definitely going outside tonight to see the blood moon.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
You went dark, dude.
What happened?
Oh no, you're dark.
That's weird. I don't know.
Must be the blood moon.
Happened.
Oh well.
Something happened. That's weird.
There you go.
Yeah, we already got DJ up in the house.
Is he still coming on here? Got you loaded up there, DJ. Just. Yeah, always got to let that play out. I remember when that show come out, and there was a bunch of us that kids went and saw that, and we were like, "Damn, man!" I mean, that music play, that's a cool, one of the best ever, I think. Dun, 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 dun. That's freaking awesome.
Yeah, and so I kind of did a little bit of stirring up with ChatGTP, and was telling them that you're proving them wrong every week. And so I had ChatGTP kind of ramp up the quiz a little bit this week. So trying to get a little camaraderie going, see if maybe ChatGTP could fool you for once, since you're always proving them wrong and stuff. And
okay, well, me,
that was weird.
I want to send a thank you out to everybody that's been purchasing through the learning management system. Tons of messages have been sent to me, and I sent one of the guys, he was asking about 70E. I sent him like 3 illustrations from article 110, 120, 130, and he goes, "Is it all this going to look like?" I said, "Oh yeah." And then another guy was asking me about when's the design book going to be right. I said, "Oh, that's going to be 2026. There's so many illustrations. There's like 13. That's a 2-part book. So, but when we get that done in the 70, I pretty much have most of everything. Then I'll do some extra ones here and there. But we are getting really close to getting stuff completely done. And so, anyway, thanks to everybody for all the purchases and everything, and all the good things you're saying about the publications. And a lot of people have been really like the intuitive way that the PDFs work on the site. They like that you have over there where you can search stuff and all of that. You can link with other members and stuff. So, yeah, everything's going pretty good, and we appreciate it. I'll provide a link over there to the site. One of the new things I'm going to do that a lot of people, you're starting to see every day, there will be a new post coming out. Tomorrow, you'll see the calculation of the week. On Thursdays, I have the High Voltage Live podcast that posts. On Wednesday, I have one on the publication that posts. Tuesday, what do I have on Tuesday? I can't remember what was what.
I have the myth of the week on Tuesday, so.
Well, I'm also going to be doing that, but Tuesday I have something. Illustration of the week. That's what it is. I have illustration of the week, and I've got a new thing that's coming out for question of the week on Monday. So I'll have a whole bunch of those going through. Then I'm going to take each week after we do the podcast, and on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, I'll do Monday myth of the week, topic of the week on Tuesday, and Wednesday will be tool of the week. So I'll add those in.
Right.
But I've got a full calendar thing built out, everything. And it took me a little while to figure out how to do everything, but I finally figured out how to get it where I can make one little build out, and then I can post it to all the social media sites, which again gives me another thing. Which one is it? Rumble has jumped up to 13. And I just
Yeah.
started posting the other day and to TikTok, and we already got 8 followers on that. So things are going freaking excellent. Oh, there's Jeremy. I see Jeremy's posting. Let's see. Let me get him here. Let me tell you what Jeremy just told me. He basically told me to tell all you instructors out there, or he didn't tell me to tell you, but what he said as a comment to me, he said, any instructor that uses a PowerPoint presentation, you're not prepared, and basically you're not a real instructor. So, uh, I found that interesting because, you know, he called me a fraud for using one. Uh, yep, he says, looky there. Yep, I would agree. See, I'm not lying. So, just to sort of prove a point, I was on NEC Live. I didn't use no presentation. They asked me questions, and I made up a calculation problem, did it off the top of my head, gave all the values and everything. And if I was off a decimal point or something, that could have happened. But I did everything off the top of my head and gave the NEC sections and tables. And, I wasn't using PowerPoint presentation when I was doing that. But yeah, somebody else will use one. And I asked him about that. He should tell them what he told me, and he's failed to do that. So, as I say, double standard. This is our troll that comes on here every week, and everybody knows it now. So, just sort of prove a point there. Right there we go. So,
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine that he does have to use PowerPoint for showing the invisible outlet that floats outside of utilization equipment.
well, I've always been under the belief, and I believe this saying. He said it. God, it's been around since ever. They say a picture's worth 1,000 words. And I have an illustration of the week that came out Tuesday, and of course he commented. He goes, "Oh well, it shows you don't know what you're doing. You also have to size the neutral conductor." And I said, "And use 220.61." Yeah, we have that illustration, but that particular illustration was sizing the grounding electroconductor where you had multiple separate drive systems, and it was in a high rise, and we were showing
Right.
how to do that on all the different floors like that. And I had to point that out to him that, that's just one illustration of many that get you through everything. That's why a picture's worth 1,000 words, because they can actually see what I'm talking about and follow with all the sections and everything that are there. I mean, I don't even remember what was there, like 15 probably uh, different sections and tables in there, something like that. I don't even know how many were in there.
Yeah.
But we always put stuff in there for people to follow, and then we also, in some of them, we put NEC loops, so you loop through and you understand where all the information's coming from. Because anybody that's used the code for any amount of time knows you may have to use multiple sections to get to the final answer. Okay.
Right.
So anyway, that's what happened.
Yeah, it's all good. And it's the whole thing is that it's just when you sit there and see all these guys that think they're better than everybody and think they're know-it-alls, and that's the whole reason why we do this, because we try to like learn ourselves every week, and there's a lot of stuff that I mean, there's things that I've been probably saying wrong here and there, and it's cool that I get to learn, I get to check it out. But
Well, sure.
um,
Everybody makes mistakes. And the thing that gets me if somebody makes a mistake, I don't hammer on them. I'll say, hey, I think this should be here, this, and let them look at it and do. If I make a mistake, I'm castorized for it. I mean, they just start coming out, calling me, and our publications suck. I'm an embarrassment to the label. It just goes on and on and on. If I make one mistake, and our dad makes a mistake, and I think
usually all you do is like you put the previous code letter in or something.
yeah, it's just something.
Yeah.
But that is one of the things that makes our publications unique, because you can go look at all the others at Micron, any of them, I don't care who it is. they'll have an illustration, and then they'll have things that they say on there that they point to, but you'll notice they don't put any sections or anything, maybe just the heading they might. When you go to ours, we got sections all in there, all kinds of stuff, loops falling and everything, and nobody else does that. And I'll explain to you why they don't do it, because it's a lot of time and effort to go research all of that. And sometimes I've seen this, we'll make the change, and then the person at that time would have been my brother Billy. He missed it and didn't put the change in, and then we went back through the edit and we missed it. And sometimes it's like grounding. I remember when we came out, when they made that whole change to grounding, there were 5 sections that were missed through that whole chapter that didn't get changed.
Right.
And people called and said, "Hey, is this from the previous?" And said, "Yes, it is. It didn't get changed. We apologize." But almost every section changed. Well, you're looking through that one chapter, and there's probably 2,000 sections in there that we're referencing over and over through all the illustrations. And, we missed a couple, when we did our final edit, because there was so much writing on the illustration and everything that needed to be changed. We even had one where we had a new paragraph that was added that we missed. So, we went back, look, we put it in and we made the change. So yeah, we make mistakes. I'm not saying I'm perfect, Yeah. So that does happen.
Yeah. But let's check out the meme of the week.
All right.
So
that is so true.
I always have to make sure that I'm really careful, because I'm like the first one to not try. Like, if an apprentice says they want to do something a certain way, I'm a little skeptical. I'm like, I don't really see it working that way, But
that is such a true statement, though. I mean, you after it works, you're like, yeah, there you go, baby. I'm a man.
Yeah, that's funny, David, because we see that so much. David sees it so much. A lot of times in some of these forums that we're in, people will be like, "You can't do that," and we're literally posting a picture of it. It's done. But how can you not do that? I'm like David. I'm like, what did you say? Like, I remember one time we had a guy. He was saying that. If you don't bend a box offset, then the anchor will come fly out of the anchor will fly out and it'll kill somebody. Mm-hmm. And then we're like, oh yes, and he goes, no, I've seen it happen. And we're like, okay, you've seen somebody die from not using a box offset. It's just funny. So
never heard that.
That was one of those. You said what?
So true.
Yeah. So guess we'll roll the old myth of the week.
Oh, all right.
It's time for Myth of the Week.
All right. Thanks so much for the participation this week. I had a lot of people jump in on the Nat King Code page, and it just means a lot. This is one of those installations. If anybody remembers, this goes back. I've used a lot of my illustrations for different things. Not illustrations, but my pictures. This was something where I was doing a plant, and I was actually adding another one of these pieces of equipment. This was a heating furnace, and you could tell that they have the phases reversed to have correct rotation. I want to say it was a clockwise rotation service, and this machine ran counterclockwise. so they had to switch the phases around to get it to spin correctly. And I think it was just the induction motor for this. It was like a furnace, like a blast furnace. So what ended up happening was they had inductive heating on this. So the plant electrician, he wasn't really an electrician, but he was the plant guy who installed it. And he put all the browns in one pipe, all the yellows in one pipe, and all the oranges in one pipe.
Wrong.
And he basically created a gigantic heater. And so it was pretty crazy, and we ended up having to fix this. So this is like after we shut it down, like what we ended up doing was I believe those were 250 aluminum, and we went and took the 250s out and pulled in 500s because obviously you can't just take four 250s and four 250s to get 1,000 when you could just do that same thing. I think we ended up knocking the fuse down and going with like 900, I think, or 1,000 with parallel 500s because that's the only pipe we had. But it was funny because, and this was real interesting because I used this with, we had Crystal Hunter on, and we talked about it because it looked like they used Deox on this. I think when we were doing the close-up on the show, you could see it looks like they did actually use it. But the interesting thing was this plant electrician or maintenance tech, he said, oh yeah, I have a torque program, and I go through and I torque these lugs every so often, And so, of course, the curiosity in me is like, I want to see how tight they are. And I just walked over, grabbed that yellow, just ripped it right out of the lug. So I just kind of wanted to show that. It was, something else. But it was kind of funny because one of the other code instructors out there was saying that had to be identified all the way up to the terminal, And that's wrong. And when you actually look at it, it really only says that you only have to encircle the conductor one wrap. So that's pretty interesting too, running into that. But, the big thing that really always cracks me up about this is you'll always hear these guys say it must be at least 6 inches of identification, and you'll never find that anywhere in the code. And David makes the comment that there's no length specified, and there's actually other areas of the code too, David. I believe 200.6 actually mentions that you must encircle the conductor with one, at least encircle the conductor. So that's pretty interesting to look at. And a lot of times what we do out in gas and oil is we do like a tiger stripe, and I think it looks a lot neater. And I'll tell you too, James, the thing that was funny about this is kind of where I knew there was a problem. So if you go and look at the breaker, you can see it's like brown, yellow, orange, and it's like labeled, as to what the phases are. Well, then I went and I saw the conduits, and he had the conduits labeled, and that's where I knew there was a problem. I was like, wait a minute. I was like, why does this conduit have a brown tape wrapped around it, and this conduit have a yellow tape wrapped around it, this conduit have an orange tape wrapped around it? And I had noticed that the conduits were a little warm, And so I told the head maintenance guy at the plant, I was like, dude, you guys got conduits that are getting warm, dude. You ain't got something right, And so he's like, oh, well, he goes, that furnace is drawing like 800 and some amps when it's heating, So he's like, next time that thing's in a heating cycle, he's like, come get me, we'll put a temp gun on it. I'm like, all right. So I take the cover off, and it's just basically an empty section that's above the gear, just to start kind of trying to figure out my parallels, punch it out and stuff. And I noticed it was like a little bit more warm than the last time I saw it, And all of a sudden I noticed that he only pulled one ground wire, and the ground wire was smoking. And so I went and I grabbed him. I'm like, get your temp gun. I was like, something's up, So he goes and grabs his temp gun. The equipment grounding conductor was like 187 degrees or something like that. It was crazy.
Damn.
And then he shot one of the couplings and it was almost 300. And so David's saying that 310.6 identifies, oh, okay, so it ties in the grounded conductor and the equipment grounding conductor. Gotcha. Okay. That's good to know, and that's why you have to look at the code as a whole. You can't just look at one section and say that's the be-all, end-all. So anyway, we went and we took a look at it, and the furnace wasn't heating at that time, and so we're like, shut it down. They were actually finishing their one batch, and like I think they only had like 3 minutes left on it. So we're like, let's go ahead and finish this batch after 3 minutes. Let's shut this thing down and let's figure out how to get it fixed, But come to find out, the reason that ground was smoking like that is because it was trying to balance the current. It was trying to act as a neutral.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was trying to take that unbalanced load of all those, that inductive heating, And it was doing a decent job, I think it was like a 3-aught or something like that. It was like a 3-aught copper or maybe a 2-aught copper, but it was doing a decent job for what size it was. Maybe it was even smaller than that, but I remember I went and looked up the ampacity of it, and it was far beyond the ampacity for that conductor. So it was pretty crazy, but like I say, to me, this is more or less just a trade kind of thing. Like we don't need the NEC to sit there and tell us every little thing that we need to do. I just don't understand how these people are like, code doesn't say that. Well, maybe you should be a craftsman and just do it right, So,
Well,
to me personally, I would like to have at least a decent amount of 4 to 6 inches to make sure there's no confusion in identification. You can obviously look that he didn't do a very good job on that orange. Like, he marked that orange like further down the conductor, So at least make them similar. Excuse me.
Yeah. Well, when I looked at this, I gave it a few thoughts, but one of the main things I wanted to point out, this was something, being instructor for NFPA, we actually went over this, and we actually used a PowerPoint too. And the thing that was interesting, that they set it up in such a manner, and I agreed 100% because we actually had it in our publications this way, but we talked about reserve colors. And when you look at NFPA, they reserve certain colors. So if you're looking at equipment grounding, you got green with one or more yellow stripes, or bare. Okay, that's right. One of their reserve colors. The other reserve color is when you go look at 200.6 A and B is for the neutral, and you got white or gray, or you have white or gray with a stripe other than green. Then there's right. Other certain things that are in the code. You could go over and look at an intrinsically safe circuit, it's light blue. If I'm looking at other conductors like high legs and things like that, you got reserved colors that they want you to use. So when I was going through the apprenticeship, we used to always be taught this. If we had a 120, 208, 120, 240 volt system, well, we were taught black, red, and blue, and white for the neutral. If it was
and that would kind of align with what David's saying here with 210.5, and you have that up on your slide right now. But that's the whole thing that's kind of controversial about that is if you have the different voltages in that building, So
well, and I'll go over that.
I've seen a lot of guys that are like, no, you have to have red MC cable and you have to have blue MC cable, and it's only 120 to 208 in the building. So it's like, why do you need to, worry about all that, Oh yeah, there's a new code. You can't do that anymore. Then, Daniel's seen it firsthand. I've had Daniel like rolling laughing on some of these posts that I posted up there where I'm like, hey, can I do this? And they're like, no, you can't do that, you know? And it's like, dude, I literally posted a picture of me doing it, and you're saying I can't. You know, it's ridiculous. So that kind of goes in with the meme, too.
Yeah, well, what you get into is, let's say that I come in and there's at my panel board, I'm 277, 480. And I come out of that panel board with a branch circuit, and I hit a junction box there, and I'm going feeding different things. And then I come out of that same panel, and I go over and hit a step-down transformer and establish another panel board with a 120 208 volt. And then I come out of there with a branch circuit, and I enter into that same junction box. Now what happens is you got two different system voltages. And when you're looking at the neutral, you want to go look at 200.6D. And when you look at, now this was interesting because there was a point where my coach was actually teaching this. He said, if you have a white, then the other one you have to put in would have to be a gray with a colored stripe other than green. And I remember where I was in Dayton, Ohio, doing a code change course. And a bunch of students were asking me, and I said, no, that isn't true. I said, who was the instructor? That's how come I know who it was. And I said, what was his reason? And he said, well, he said over time you couldn't tell the difference between the two different conductors. I said, well, that's not true. And so you can go look at this. If I'm not mistaken, I think Mike had made a proposal to put that in there like that, and the code making panel rejected it. And what they ended up doing, they put a list system in. And if you go over and look at 200.6D, I think it states, I think the heading says grounded conductors, a different nominal voltage systems or voltage systems, something like that. But when you go over and look at it, they tell you that you got that grounded conductor has to conform with 200.6 AB, 6A or B.
Yeah.
And then
David makes a good point that you have to post those different voltage, like signage. And I can't remember exactly when. It was a few cycles ago, they actually added that neutral had to be posted with it because they never had that before. So they actually had it to where all you had to post was your ungrounded colors, and then they added that neutral. I want to say it was in 2017, possibly 2014, because I remember going through a bunch of buildings and changing it.
Yeah, and matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, they give you the three options that you go down and follow. And then if I'm not mistaken, it got added in there about the means for identification. And they tell you that it has to be readily available or it has to be permanently posted where you have the different systems originate. So I think it's the last sentence that's in 200.6D. And when you go look at that and everything, that's why I'm trying to bring this up, is basically you can take your identifications for your branch circuits, and then you come here and you look at your identification of your ungrounded conductors here. It tells you about the means of identification. There's nothing talking about the 6 inches or anything like that. Then you go to 215.12, you get the same thing. Okay, for the equipment grounds and the grounded conductor. So it takes you back to exactly where I was talking about. You picked
David's
this information
following you,
up.
brother. He's on it.
Mm-hmm. And that's why I say you go and you look at this stuff and you start putting it together. Basically, your system voltages that are coming in, you can use any colors you want to use to identify it, but you got to post there and tell what that identification is. However, if I'm using a neutral and equipment ground, you have to follow, because those are reserved colors that are used to specify those type of conductors. Okay, so that's why I wanted to point it out. And then where you got the service conductor with higher voltage to ground, here's a good example. And we tell you that you permanently have to identify that outer finish that is what color? Orange. Okay.
Yeah.
So I just given a few little examples there. I wanted to sort of take that. It's one thing about the identification of the conductors, but and how many wraps or whatever that's not there. You got to identify that conductor, the means that you do it. Hell, you could put a tag on it. I mean, there's ways that you can do that, and that's why
we've had times before out gas and oil where we've had to do it like A1, A2, A3.
Oh yeah, I've seen that
or
too.
Whatever, because we didn't have any choice. We didn't have a way to get colored tags on them. Mm-hmm. And then what we've done is we've used like a white heat shrink, and then all we do is we print out A1, A2, A3, and then you can change those if you need to based on motor rotation.
Sure.
You might have to have A2, A1, A3 at the motor.
That's right.
Now I was talking to one of the guys in the comments, because he's like, oh yeah, you gotta, it's easier to change it at the motor controller, which he's right. But a lot of these freak drives that I've seen coming out now, you can just reverse the rotation right at the freak drive now. You can just go in there and just change it. You don't have to even swap any wiring.
Sure. So, and I think this is a good myth, and I think adding to it a little bit so people understand about reserve colors and that of the National Electrical Code. I gave some good examples there, and hopefully that clarifies that, and everybody knowing that you don't need 6 inches.
And also, myth is busted.
I would say it has.
Yep. So a lot of people, like, they don't understand kind of how I do the myth. I try to do like true or false. Sometimes I do what I consider to be a true statement, and that's where it kind of gets a little bit controversial, because everyone's like, that's not a myth, But, like the whole thing with like changing the 2026, it was like, I knew that was a myth. I knew that there's no way they're going to have enough time to totally alter the whole entire NEC. Well, the minute that we called it out on this show, next thing you know, person who posted this went and changed it to 2029, which they're trying to push through, and they're trying to get it. But I just don't understand. Like, I think we need to try to reduce some of this redundancy in the code, and not like make more room, like more chapters to put them all, because it just seems like they're just constantly trying to push like more redundant stuff. Like David was there the other couple weeks ago, and we were talking about like different things about power storage systems, and you could have like a definition for a power storage system, and then you could have a definition for UPS, and technically they're two different definitions, and so you kind of have to take the code as a whole. And does NECA have something about that by chance? So that's interesting, David. I'm gonna have to look into that, So, and like I say, Jeremy, there's different definitions in the code. There's definition of branch circuit, there's definition of individual branch circuit. There are clearly two different kinds of branch circuits. One can connect to one or more outlets. One can connect directly to the utilization equipment if you want. So.
Yeah. That's one reason I like doing the podcast, because you go over a lot of different things. And, people have had questions on certain things like that. And, having the myth of the week is really, really good.
Yeah, we learned that one week where they came up with that multiplier for 250/66. That was pretty, I didn't know that. I never heard that before.
Yeah, that was freaking awesome. But that goes back to somebody that was on the code making panels, that was there when everything was taking place, but yet you still got other individuals. The thing that got me, they actually tried to come on and show that he was wrong, and they did the calculation wrong. Then when I said, well, no, you did it wrong, this is how you do it, then silence. but they were saying he's a dummy and calling him out, calling him all kinds of names. Then when I showed them, then it's like it never happened, and I'm like,
oh yeah,
somebody that was there, the interesting part is also he went through and explained why they got rid of the term made electrodes. I mean, everything he went through and explained what took place and why it was that size and the documentation, all that. And for all these individuals come in and call him a freaking idiot, moron, all this other stuff, that's uncalled for, and, eventually we're going to lose a lot of that expertise that was on there. And I like to listen to things that they're talking about because I want to pass it on to the younger generation that's coming up so they'll know what's going on.
That's why it never happened, because there's no multiplier. They didn't go off 250 102 C1.
No, there's no multiplier in 256.6. What he said, he gave the multiplier that they used based on the overcurrent devices in order to determine the size of the grounding electrode conductor. That's what the multiplier he was given. It didn't have nothing else to do with it. And when you go and apply that multiplier to them overcurrent devices, and then you would see the circular mill you got out of it, then it was taken from Chapter 9, Table 8 in order to determine the size grounding electrode conductor. That's how it was done.
Poor Jeremy's trying to look in the back of the book to try to see if there's upside down answers in there, like on his cereal box.
So that's how they did it. And, and I did not know that. I mean, because when we were doing the prize, I said, whoa, what'd you say? You saying you took a multiplier based on the overcurrent device, and once you got that was your circular mill, and they used it. He goes, that's exactly how they did it. And that is a wealth of knowledge and experience from somebody that was there at the time all those changes were being made. And for somebody to...
Oh, yeah, he did. It was James Stallcup Sr., and he showed the math on it and everything.
He sure did.
And it worked out. It was
amazing. I was like, I did not know that. So, Dad's 85. I mean, he ain't gonna live forever, I mean, he might get in there 10 years, hopefully, but, when he's gone, I mean, I try to take, he's got manuals and stuff here back in 71 or 72, when he first started writing his first manual that the union, Jeremy, actually used that he was teaching at. And they were actually purchasing his manual, and he was teaching the other instructors how to use it and everything. And that's how he actually got started. It's a really interesting story. And then he took them to the supply houses here, and I'll never forget this. It freaked him out. He bought 50. He went down and had 50 copies printed and done, and they took it to the supply houses. So there was 3 of them here, and he had 150 publications. Within a week, he had 2 of them. 2 of them had called him, asked him if he had any more publications that were done. And Dad said, what do you need them for? He goes, hell, we've already sold all of them that were here. And because nobody had anything like that. And once again, it goes back to, like I was saying, my brother Billy actually hand drawn all the illustrations that they put in there, and then they took tape and pasted on there, and then they copied it on a copier. That's how they did it. And then they just printed it out. And then the first class he ever did was at Ridgely Country Club. They had it over here in Fort Worth. And his first class he ever did, they had over 300 people come to the auditorium, and had people from Austin. They had people from all over. Next thing you know, he went to Austin to do a class. He went to El Paso. Then he went to San Antonio. And then the IAI started having them come out do presentations for them at their chapter meetings and stuff. And that's how he got started. Well, American Tech saw the publication and wanted to publish it. And then all of a sudden, it just took off from there, and apprenticeships all over the country were using it just like they are today. So
right. And that's cool. Like, there's been a lot of apprenticeships that's been like reaching out, and maybe maybe the union's like kind of like losing because they just have like subpar material. Maybe that's the reason.
let me answer that one for him. It's because of your NJTC. They decided, and what they did, Jeremy, they're not even part of the union anymore. Just so you know this, because you probably don't keep up with this. They come in and they decided they were going to start developing, and they started this. What is it? Electrical Training Alliance, I think it was. They started, and then they started doing their own. They used to use ours, and then they created one that's called Blending Learning. Matter of fact, they're so scared of us that we wanted to go. They have every year where all their instructors go, and we wanted to take a booth out there. And I'm trying to remember the guys at Palmer. We had a booth to go there and everything. They found out we were coming, and then I get a call and they rejected us having a booth there. That actually freaking happened. And the reason is they don't want their instructors seeing what actually is available out there. And that's how it happened. But the thing that amazes me is they created Electrical Training Alliance, and guess what? They broke off from them, and they're sort of their own entity now, and they still sell to the union, but they also try to sell to all non-union and everything else. So that's like I say,
I didn't even know.
There is a double standard there, and that's what I was trying to point out. And that's why I know a lot about what goes on in the electrical industry, being through the publishing and what we've done and everything. And I'll tell you a quick story real quick. We used to go to the IEC meetings. Well, we had this one girl and a bunch of her cronies. They came in. We had a room there, and we actually had 2 kegs in there and all kinds of stuff. The guys could come in and have pizza and hors d'oeuvres, everything. And our room was packed. This girl, I think her name was Marilyn or something like that. She came in our room telling us our publications were filled with errors and just going on and on. And I said, what errors are there? And she goes, well, I don't know. And I said, wait a minute. I said, you came into our room telling me we have all these errors. And I said, you can't even show me where it is. I said, you're going to make a false accusation like that? She goes, it isn't false, blah, blah. I said, what the problem is, Marilyn? I said, you don't want to tell me what it is and then me show that you don't know what you're talking about. I said, that's where she goes, I can't believe you talked to me. I said, I can't believe you come in here and made a false statement towards our publications. Well, that year, they were on the board, her and a bunch of others, and then they went to go use another publication. And it was with American Tech. This is a true story. And we were sitting there, and NFPA was publishing our publications at the time. And if Chuck Durant was on here, he would tell you everything I'm telling you actually happened. And They were pushing this one booking, and one of the guys recognized that I'd be able to speak. And I said, that publication, I said, you'll need 3 other publications to tell you everything that our publication tells you. And they literally told me, you don't know what you're talking about, and blah, blah, blah. Next year comes, and guess what? They wanted 3 more publications to supplement that publication. Now, that sort of sounds like somebody might have been getting something from it.
Right.
And that actually happened. So I understand the politics and all that because I've had to deal with it. And a lot of the organizations that are out there, they want to be able to do their own stuff and sell it, and they've created entities to do that. If they didn't do that like it was before, they'd probably be using the stalk-up publications. There's your answer, Jeremy.
Yeah, and I really appreciate David coming on here and, trying to educate Jeremy, telling him, if you really want to know what the purpose of the grounding electrode system is, go look at 250.4A1 and B1,
That's right.
Pretty simple, Jeremy. You could find it in the code,
Sure. Matter of fact, when you go in and you look at the grounding portion and everything. Oh,
look who's up in the house. Hey, we're brothers. What's
how you doing, brother? But you go look at the grounding when they made the changes to the grounding chapter and moved everything around, everybody can go look. You have to take my word for it. Go grab one of our design publications before they made them changes, and I guarantee you it's almost exactly laid out the way we had it in our publication. And the reason I know that is because the members that were on there, I was there when they told that. We used your design book to help us lay out Article 250. That is an honest fact. So,
all right, David. Looks like David's gonna be heading out. But thanks so much
full
for
blood tomorrow.
joining.
Yeah, you will, brother.
Yeah.
Don't be going out vampiring tonight.
I think if I'm not mistaken, I think it's supposed to peak at like 1 in the morning or something like that.
Yeah, I will
think they said.
definitely be out later tonight because I want to see it. You know, I like stuff like that. So, NETA Power Fest 20. Cool.
All right.
All right. Well, you want to get
there
in
we
and get into the topic of the week? Go ahead and get that rolling.
All right. Mr. E is out. All right.
Have a
Thanks
good
for
night,
joining
brother.
us
Good
tonight.
seeing you.
Thank
Good
you,
luck
sir.
on the death match.
There you go. I know
All right.
I'm slipping.
Let's roll the topic. Let's get it
All
going.
right.
All right.
Yeah, I was actually noticing the moon was actually a little red this morning on my way
Yeah,
in.
I did too. One of the things I want to point out before I get into topic of the week, some of these that you're going to see, they will be in the code change book, but they're not going to make the top 100. Okay, so
Yeah.
because we'll cover probably about 200, 250 different changes that took place. So there's quite a few extra definitions we're putting in this time that have moved around and all that. So just, I'm just showing you the definitions that change, but when I get to one that's a big top one, I definitely will let you know, like I did last week on the impedance one, bonding jumper. So that's one.
And just to let you know, King James did square me up on those code changes that I got gypped for 2020. So I don't want anybody.
I did tell you, I said when we get everything up and running, this learning management system, it's going to be freaking awesome. And I said, you'll have access to all kinds of stuff. And what a lot of people are really interested in, I've got a lot of comments, is when I get it as an online course. They're really interested in seeing that, where you can click through the sections and actually work calculations online by filling in the blanks and having the answer key, and then the video doing the explanation, all that. They all are real interested in that. So,
yeah.
All right. Well, let's get her cracking here and let's see what we have. All right. Now, the first one we're going to look at, this is one where they, and Jeremy, this would be good for you to pay attention to, because Jeremy has made the point, you just do whatever, you should do what the code making panel says. And I always say the code making panels ain't always right. And a lot of times people get appointed on there that really are not experts in that field. And that they basically learn. I've sat in different code making panel meetings, and I've heard some things that people have said, and I'm like, he doesn't even know what the hell he's talking about. And I'll tell you one, and this happened, and I get my dad on here. There was one that was a code making panel chairman, and we were at the General Assembly, and there was some mistakes there, and it was my code that did it. And Mike berated this code making panel chairman. A lot of people said he shouldn't have done that, but this chairman did not know what was going on and understood what the argument was. That actually happened on the General Assembly floor. If Mark Odie was here, he would tell you what I'm telling you is true. that
Right.
actually happened. Now, one of the things that they did here, and this would be co-making panel 5, they got jurisdiction over this. They actually went in and tried to remove the term jumper. That is what happened. And they've done this on many definitions. Then it went to the second correlating committee, and they said, no, that is what we call it. That is the preferred term. They wanted to call it a main bonding conductor. Okay? So what they've done here, and there's multiple ones on this, they're telling you they made a revision here now that is going to clarify that the main term that we'll use here, main bonding jumper, that is your preferred term. The alternate preferred term is main bonding conductor. Okay?
Right.
That they did that in the one we looked at last week. The same thing took place here with a supply side bonding jumper. Now you can call it the preferred term, supply side bonding jumper, and the alternate preferred term is a supply side bonding conductor. I will tell you, we will not call it a bonding conductor in our publication. It still will have SSBJ, or we'll spell it out, supply side bonding jumper, as part of our identification. Then they did
not cave. Way to not cave there.
That's right. Then they did system bonding jumper, the exact same thing. The system bonding jumper is the preferred term. System bonding conductor is your alternate preferred term. All right. Then they came in because we use these a lot, and this happened because of the increase of limited energy system cable ties. And they're using these because the necessity for bundling, securing, or supporting cables. And that also includes flexible conduit or flexible tubing. Therefore, what they needed to do here is they needed to put a clear term in that was understandable when you're using these cable ties. So they tell you the different types that are available for your cable management applications, and then the type that are used for securing and supporting cable, flexible conduit, flexible tubing. Okay? So those are your different types, and they're all listed there.
Oh, Worm Brothers getting a little shots fired over there at Weed Man.
Who's the sister? Yep. Now, they also did the cable ties where they were integral to it. And the same thing happened here is they tell you the types that are available when they're integral type devices here, and you're using the cable ties, and they're telling you pretty much exactly the same thing. Okay, so we'll have 2 illustrations on that showing you exactly what they're talking about. The other one that gets very interesting here is they've added some more definitions here that's going to deal with these self-propelled vehicles. Now, the reason these are added is to help differentiate the type of vehicles that are going to be located now in the new Article 624 from the type of vehicles that are located in Article 625. Okay?
Gotcha.
So when I look at they call it an ESV, an electric self-propelled vehicle, it says a vehicle or marine vessel other than an EV, and then they're going to give you a list here, such as farm equipment, boats, aircraft, and golf carts, primarily powered by an electric motor that draws current from a rechargeable storage battery, fuel cell, photovoltaic array, or other source of electric current. Okay?
So, a question for you: does Code-Making Panel 12 have purview over 624 and 625?
I think so. I'm not 100. I don't want to. Well, let me.
Is 624 like a new article?
It's a new article, so I'm pretty sure since it's an electrical vehicle, yeah, they probably do.
Gotcha.
But I'm not going to say 100% sure because I didn't look at that. Then they've got another one that is called an electric self-propelled vehicle power export equipment. Now, Jeremy, pay close attention. The equipment, including the outlet on the electric self-propelled ESV, that is used to provide electrical power at voltages greater than or equal to 30 volts AC or 60 volts DC to loads external to the ESV using the vehicle as a source of supply. Now, what they're telling you here is the equipment, including the outlet that's on it.
Yeah.
Okay? They're going through and they're explaining what this is and where it is located. This is very, very important here.
But the premise is wiring.
Yeah, I know. Now, if the outlet is where the termination is, like at an AC unit and everything that you stated before, why do they need to say that there's an outlet included on it? This brings up exactly the type of things I'm talking about. And then it gives you an informational note to explain this. Electric self-propelled vehicle power export equipment and electric self-propelled vehicle supply equipment or wireless power transfer equipment are sometimes contained in one piece of equipment, sometimes referred to as bidirectional electric self-propelled vehicle supply equipment or bidirectional wireless power transfer equipment. Okay, so they're giving you an information note, and they're also telling you that there's an outlet included on this. And the reason is because the outlet is where? It's not where you're feeding into it, it's on the other side of where it picks up its energy. So now, what are you going to tell me? I have two outlets on this piece of equipment? That can't happen.
Yeah, and so as everyone knows, I kind of I kind of smacked the hornet's nest on this one, just because before it was only for outlets that were or receptacles that were installed for connection of EBSE, and I went in there and said, "Well, you say outlet over here. Why don't you say outlet over here?" And I expected it to get rejected, and I didn't even know anything about this self-propelled thing. Worm Brothers like, what? Self-propelled? Like, yeah, it's like I don't understand. This kind of goes into the whole thing. Like, what is the whole, like, what are we trying to do here in the NEC? Like, why do we have to have all these million sections? You know, like they want to try to just make everything a blanket statement, and just to kind of tell everyone out there, by their substantiation of how they're trying to do some of this stuff, the outlet would actually be contained in the vehicle, just like you said there, James.
That's right. And this is what they're showing you right here. They're telling you it's items such as farm equipment, boats, aircraft, and golf carts. Okay? Because somebody, I think it's Worm Brothers that put it in right here. What's that about self-propelled? That's what they're talking about. And that's why I wanted to show these definitions that are going against what they said. But look at this. Then it talks about where, now first let me go back here because I want to explain something. This is where you have export equipment, okay? Now this one is where they talk about supply equipment. Then it says equipment for plug-in charging, including the ungrounded, grounded, and equipment grounded conductors and the electric self-propelled vehicle connectors, attachment plugs, personal protection system, and all other fittings, devices, power outlet. What do you mean power outlets? I thought the outlets where you made the connection. Okay, well, here's another problem, but it says, or apparatus, let's see what it says, installed specifically for the purpose of transferring energy. Oh, so you're telling me that the supply equipment has a power outlet on it?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm reading it here. Where are you, Jeremy? Where's the disagreement here? I'm showing you exactly what it says right here. There's a power outlet on there. And in other words, it's like what? A receptacle. You plug something into. That's the outlet. They're saying the supply equipment's outlet. It's not actually the car.
Yeah.
If anybody reads that any different, tell me, because I'm reading it word for word.
And the other thing is that constantly since we've had this argument, the outlet could just move wherever it makes you right in your argument.
That's true. That's what they try to say. And that's where I come in with a problem with it. And I've stated this many times. But this definition here, the way I read this, the outlet is at the equipment that you plug it into.
Yeah.
Now,
and I would make the same argument for EVSE when it comes to the actual vehicle itself being the outlet, because the utilization equipment is inside the vehicle.
That's
the
right.
Charger is inside the vehicle, so all that transfer equipment is doing is converting voltage to a different voltage for the charger. So the point where the current is taken to utilization equipment is where you plug into the vehicle.
Yeah, and this here has been my whole argument, and I think showing these definitions is starting to prove a point where we have another problem.
Yeah. And it's getting a little worse. I mean, they want to make like these blanket statements and just make them all apply to everything, and it's just not really gonna work. You have to have two different definitions of branch circuit and individual branch circuit. Like,
that's right.
Why is, what is it? Looks like we're getting
Adam
ready.
has entered in.
Oh no,
man.
King James is not going to win today. No.
It depends on what he's putting it on this time. There's no telling what subject he has this week.
Like, Worm Brothers is right, man. Like, it's crazy. Like, so they actually changed the definition of outlet in 2026, and they changed it back, and I think me and James might have had a little bit of
what they did, they changed the definition where it said the branch circuit conductors connect to utilization equipment, and then it went to the second correlating revision that was there, and they took that out. They said, oh no, that's not correct, and they dropped it back to the original definition. So the change that was made, apparently, which I said, there's no way, when it happened, I told everybody, there's no way that definition will stand. And I think some of the courting committees are watching our podcast, and then it went back to the original definition.
They actually flipped the script. So they said that the outlet was where that it said, I can't remember exactly, but it said a point on the wiring system where current is at the utilization equipment or whatever. So like, by saying that, it basically says that a cord and plug connected outlet, there's no outlet.
That's right.
It kind of screwed them up.
Well, that's what they said. It's where where the branch circuit conductors connect to utilization equipment. Well, if it connects at utilization equipment, then you're basically saying if I plug in at a receptacle, that's your outlet and it's not a device anymore.
Right.
You can't do that.
Yeah, exactly. But Adam is like, I don't even know what you guys are talking about, but Adam is the two-time champion, and I think you're two-time champion already, right?
I think so. At least at bare minimum, yeah.
Yeah, but I think it was the Canada ones that pushed him over the top, so...
Yeah, I remember the one, I think, what was the Quebec one where it's like you can't driving forward into...
Oh, you can't back out of your driveway.
Back out of your driveway. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
Dude, King James went and started backing out and entered his driveway like 17 times just because he was so mad.
I put on the back, hey, Canada, this is how we do it. And I just kept going back and forth.
Out of the driveway, back in the driveway. Out of the driveway, back in the driveway.
And do it in slow motion, and then faster in slow motion.
Y'all guys need to learn how to drive up there, damn it.
Yeah.
But I will give King James credit. He does look at the backup camera. Like we have that backup camera for no reason in my family. We don't need to look at it or anything. Just back out.
Well, I'm old school. We didn't have that when I was driving. I remember you had to go take your driving test. You literally had to. I remember because when I went, most of the time they do 10 and 2, and you had to sit there looking over your shoulder back out, and I just learned my own way, and I just got there and I just put my hand like this, looked over. I was doing it with one hand. He goes, you know, you're supposed to put both hands over the wheel. He goes, that was a fine parallel park. He goes, I'm giving you excellent marks on it. He goes, and to be honest, he goes, I do it exactly the same way you do. He just started laughing. He goes, who taught you? Your dad? I said, yeah. He goes, okay.
There you go. No, every Willie quiz is super easy. I just try to, you know, make it easy for everyone, you know, and like I say, sometimes they're a little easier, but this week we kind of had ChatGTP is a little salty because King James has been smoking him on Man vs. Machine, so I had AI step in, kind of sauce this one up a little bit, so
all right, let's start it.
Should be pretty easy.
Let's cue it up.
Did you ever think, Adam, that your intro was going to be world famous on our show?
I never would have predicted that intro would be used for the Willie quizzes.
I just want to know, how much do you work out a week to get in that good a shape, Bill?
Dude, I'm actually, we just looked at it. I'm probably actually more buff than he is right now. We just saw a thing of Batista. Me and Adam were checking it out the other night on his show. Batista's like lost a lot of weight, man.
Really?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, if you look up Batista in 2025 or 2024, you'd be kind of shocked.
It doesn't even look like the same guy.
No.
I have a feeling he probably took steroids or something.
Maybe. Could be.
Right.
This is all natural, baby, right here.
Me too. Who's your daddy? All right. Let's see what we got.
So, question number one. This I didn't put the quiz thing up there. It's birds of North America. So, question number one. Which North American bird can mimic human speech and other sounds such as like chainsaws and car alarms? Is it A, bald eagle? Is it B, northern mockingbird? Is it C, the common loon? Is it D, a blue jay? Or is it E, a North American owl? Good luck, everyone. So actually, AI thought it could like try to influence King James's decisions by adding these little extra descriptions in there. So we'll see if it works with ChatGTP. It seems like Daniel is going B, the northern mockingbird.
My first initial was because I know they mock you and stuff, and B or C were my two, because I know it ain't a bald eagle, blue jay, or an owl.
I guess actually there's some truth to that blue jay. The blue jays are known to.
Yeah, but I've had blue jays and back in the 80s. We used to have all blue jays in the 70s in the backyard there. They never made that kind of sound. But mockingbirds do make sounds.
They said that the blue jay can mimic hawks and like other birds of prey to like intimidate other people, to intimidate other rival birds. So
I'm gonna go with mockingbird.
Yeah,
I don't know about a loon. I don't even know what a loon is.
Yeah, I'll go with mockingbird as well.
Yeah, well, we all know someone who won't stop talking, but the answer is B. It is the northern
Yeah.
mockingbird. So, told you guys it's gonna be easy.
Take that,
And
AI.
yeah, so far ChatGTP hasn't done any help. All right, what is the fastest bird in North America reaching speeds of over 240 miles per hour in a dive? Is it A, the Roadrunner beep beep, which I doubt because that's not even a flying animal. B, the Peregrine Falcon. C, the Canadian Goose. D, the Osprey. Or E, the red-tailed hawk. Good luck, everyone.
Well, I've already eliminated 3, and I'm between B and E. But if I'm not mistaken, Falcons, when they come down, they freaking move, boy.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of shows that's the reason they have Falcons. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think B. Yeah, it'd have to be a Falcon.
For sure, I agree. B will be my final answer as well.
All right, well, I'm really sad that you guys didn't like my coined the Varmint Reaper BS answer, but you are correct. It is B. So
Yeah. Hawks are fast.
At least I got you.
Falcons are.
At least I got it on the radar as one of the possible answers. So that was all me. All right, question number 3. What bird lays its eggs in other birds' nests, tricking them into raising its young? Is it A, the turkey vulture? Is it B, the great horned owl? Is it C, the brown-headed cowbird? Is it D, a cardinal? Or is it E, the California condor? Good luck, everyone.
This one may be tricky because my one answer I'm looking at here, I know that they do lay their eggs in other birds' nests. And the only reason I know this because I had to go out on a job one time and big ranch. And they were telling me about this bird, and it does lay its eggs in other birds' nests. But the thing they said that bird particularly took over the other birds and stuff because when they lay their eggs, they actually hatch faster than the other eggs, and they would eat the other eggs. But I didn't know it was tricking them into raising their young. Matter of fact, I think, isn't it a thing with birds that if another bird laid eggs in theirs, that most of the birds will reject those eggs, don't they?
It probably depends. Like there's probably some kind of a way that they're probably similar. Like I would think that it could kind of rule out like some different style eggs, like possibly like a California condor. They'd be like, wait a minute, what is this massive 10-foot egg? This is not a normal egg in my nest.
I'm not sure of the others, but I do know this on ranch. That's why it's called a cowbird. So I'm going to go with C, a brown-headed cowbird. But I don't know 100% if it's tricking them into raising its young. But yeah, I'll go with that.
That's pretty tricky. Could push Adam onto the fence a little. Daniel's going C.
I'm going to go C as well on this one.
All right, everyone copies everyone, and boom, we have another correct answer. It is C, the deadbeat bird of the bird world.
Yeah, and it was interesting because
Deadbeat
I was
cat.
out on that ranch. There were a lot of those freaking cowbirds out there. I mean, that was really interesting. Them tell me about that. Okay,
Wow. Yeah, all right, so which bird holds the record for the longest nonstop migration flying over 7,500 miles without stopping? Is it A, the Arctic tern? Is it B, the bald eagle? Yeah, right. Is it C, the American rotan? Is
Robin,
it D? Oh, ramen?
Robin.
American robin. Yeah, okay. Thanks, Adam. Appreciate you giving me your disease. Uh, D, the bar-tailed godwit, or E, the Australian flamingo. Good luck, everyone.
Well, I definitely know it ain't an Arctic tern or bald eagle, and a robin. They don't live long enough to migrate that long. So
Yeah,
it's down to the last two, and I would think a flamingo's not going to go that far. So I'd have to go with the bar-tailed godwit. I don't even know what the hell that is.
yeah.
I'm gonna go same answer. D. Bar-tailed Godwit.
And looks like everyone copies Daniel's answer, and boom, we have a tie going into the last question. So awesome, everyone, 4 for 4. I told you guys it was easy.
Mm-hmm.
And like I say, I think ChatGTP possibly made it a little easier. So I don't know. I don't think ChatGTP made it harder. I think mine are a little bit harder than this. All right. So what bird has a call that sounds like it's laughing at you? Is it A, the belted kingfisher? Is it B, the American crow? Is it C, the wood duck? Is it D, the mourning dove? Or E, the whippoorwill? Good luck, everyone.
Well, being that I used to go hunting, I remember the sound that a wood duck made, and I think it's C.
I'm gonna split and go with A.
Yeah, those are actually really good answers. And like I say, I mean, I guess the good part is we won't really have a tie. Um, oh, it looks like
What?
Daniel's copying King James
Mm.
and go with C, the wood duck. Oh man, that is good answers. And boom, it is A, the belted kingfisher.
Yay.
Really?
So yeah, I guess
I don't
they
even know
say
what a
that-
belted kingfisher is. I've never even heard of it.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess ChatGTP must have known that. All right, so
And
we're
you
gonna
won.
go ahead and do a tiebreaker anyway, just so I don't hear the challenge flags coming out. What is the fastest speed clocked by a wild turkey in flight?
And flat.
Yeah, so they could fly.
I have to think about this for a minute.
So closest gets the win without going over.
I'm sort of curious to hear what their answer is. I've got one in my mind, and what I think is, but I was going to say about 20 miles an hour. I don't think they can go much faster than that. So I don't know if that's a fast. I would say they can probably run 10 and then probably double the speed. So yeah, I'll go with 20.
What about you, Adam? Mr. King of estimation. Dude, you like
I always have a reason why I come up with something and my reasoning behind it.
I will go lower. I'll go with 10.
All right, DJ goes 45, and he actually wins. DJ takes the win. I think Adam still gets the win, but like I say, Daniel gets the tiebreaker. It's actually 55 miles an hour.
Oh, wow.
So they could actually cook it. So
damn.
I wouldn't have
that's awesome. I thought Adam was gonna. Dude, I swear, I could prove this as fact. I was coming home one day, and this is in broad daylight, and a wild turkey started crossing the road, and just looked at me like, I'm not moving. And I'm like, I'm not stopping. I'm going 55 miles an hour. And I swear to God that it got out of the way. It was fast enough. It got out of the way, and I didn't hit it. But, I mean, I didn't have enough time to stop. I mean, I could have cranked my brakes and stuff, but it just looked at me like this smug look, like I'm not stopping. And I was like, oh, well, I guess you're getting hit. And that thing just, I mean, it took off. Like, I didn't even know they could fly. I thought I was going to hit it, you know, and I was just like, oh, man. I was like, you know, I didn't know what else to do. I started slowing down, you know what I mean? But it was like, I mean, I was probably going like 60, 65, so it was probably 55 by the time it took off and flew over me. But that's where I knew that, and I actually looked it up, so there was no challenge flags, and made sure it was correct. They have been clocked at speeds of up to 55 miles an hour in flight.
Well, I would not have thought that.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
So Daniel and Adam tie for the win against King James this week, and ChatGTP got revenge for now until we go to our next segment, the Man vs. Machine.
Well, we got to do Tool of the Week first.
Oh, we're doing Tool. Yeah, that's right. Dude, thanks so much for joining, Adam. We really appreciate you, sir. I'll probably. Are you streaming tonight?
Not tonight. Tonight I'm just gonna upload a video, and then maybe if not tomorrow, for sure Saturday.
Well, here's to you, my friend. Thank you so much. Cheers. Appreciate it.
Have a good night, Adam.
You too. Thank you, King James.
And be good the whole week. And if you're not good, and if you're bad, be good at it.
Okay.
I
like that advice. All right.
Yeah, the mighty words, the wise words of King James.
Very wise.
That is a good saying.
I love it. I love it. I was expecting like a mic drop, like a boom, and I'm like, that was a good mic drop.
I always got some crap I come up with.
Yeah.
That's cool. Well, right on, sir. You enjoy your evening. I'll probably see you over on your stream tomorrow.
Thank you. Take care, guys.
Later, brother.
All right, peace.
Bye.
All right, let's crank up Tool of the Week.
It's time for Tool Review of the Week. Sponsored by Electricians Only Tool Review and Nipex Tradesman.
All right, we probably have covered this tool before. Daniel knows this one well. We've used it out a lot out in gas and oil, but this is the Conductor stripper. So what this does is you can set a little thing in there. A lot of times what happens is we use a crimp tool, and you use paddle crimps. Mm-hmm. And so what you want is those paddle crimps to be almost exactly 1.25 inches. I don't know if it's exactly that, but it, you know, and that's where it comes in. A lot of these things are doing like millimeters and stuff now. So what you want is you want to be able to precisely strip this conductor all the way down to where it's exactly flush with that insulation of where you're crimping that paddle connector.
Mm-hmm.
And this really works good. I mean, it's a really solid way to do it. You set it a lot. You might have to do like a test run, like on a piece of scrap, and just see where you want to set it, make it exactly perfect, and then you can just sit there. And I mean, we're terminating, and Daniel can attest to this. He was in there doing a tool inventory one day, and you know, I had to go through. I think it was like 16 to 20 conductors and land them at the gear, and this thing makes it real easy. A lot of times they're using fair rules, which are crimping on, where you have to take like say like a 500, reduce it down to like a 350 or something for the lugs. A lot of times you'll have these paddle paddle crimps that will bolt onto the flat flange of the transformer or whatever you're bolting them to. There's a lot of different applications for this, and like I say, this makes it so much faster. I mean, honestly, I will tell you in my heart that I think I'm faster in my head with a knife, and I think I'm more accurate with a knife, but in all actuality, there's no way you're going to compete with this. It's way faster, way more accurate, and like I say, it's a lot safer than a knife too, because you're not, you don't have that, basically that error. You don't have that human error involved, because the stripping mechanism is encased inside the thing. And the thing that's interesting about this is I wish that they made it like a separate tool that you could like take off and put back on, but this is like specifically a tool just for stripping, so that actual stripping tool is affixed to it. So I would say that is a little bit of a drawback from it. I wish that it was just like a stripping attachment that you could just put on any drill, but this is like a specific tool that you have to buy just for stripping, and there's no way to like remove that stripper and put like it's permanently affixed in there. Maybe they do that so that it's stronger and it stays tighter or whatever, but I don't know. I wasn't a real fan of that part of it, like just that it's one tool just for stripping, and you don't have any other choice to add any other attachments to it or anything like that. So that would be my one drawback from it that I didn't like. And you can see, I think they're like 2 or 3 amp hour batteries in there. So kind of the lower amp hour batteries, you're not going to need like a 5 to 7 hour amp hour battery to, strip out, 10 cables or whatever. Yeah. So it's a good tool. Like I say, I've used it quite a bit and I really like it. And there's a few drawbacks to it, but overall, I would say it's like the most accurate way to strip a whole ton of high, I guess what you would call it, like
high volume conductors.
Like high circular mill conductors.
High circular mill. Larger conductors.
Yeah, exactly. So, works pretty good. But that's pretty fun. And now, the much anticipated main event, man versus machine.
All right.
For years, man tried to create artificial intelligence. On this segment, we find out, is AI smarter than King James?
So if you're new to this segment, thank you for joining us. What we do is we ask a code question. A lot of you probably already seen this code question, and then King James tries to answer it, and then live we ask AI and see if it gets it right, if I corrected it, or if it learned, or maybe somehow it's smarter than King James. So
If I remember
This one-
right, this was a
this-
quarter inch, and if I'm not mistaken, let's see, 547.18, something like that. It's in 547. I know, or 13, something like that. But if I remember correctly, this was a quarter inch B.
All right, so let's see if ChatGTP agrees with you, or if you agree with it, whatever. Let's see what AI says. And
All right. You typing it in?
who, me?
Yeah.
No, I thought you were doing it because.
Oh, you want me to do it? Okay. Well,
Yeah, I don't want to cheat. I would tell it the right answer.
let me go over here to share
Then you
screen.
get it wrong.
Give me 1 second. I gotta pull it up.
I actually asked ChatGTP already 2 times, and I got 2 different answers. Not telling you if either one was wrong or
Okay.
right, but I
Let
did
me
get 2
type it
different
in.
answers.
Yeah, I have to type it in first.
I have been teaching.
I didn't know
it,
I
so-
was doing that.
Well, I want it to be fair, because if I type it in, I want you to get it wrong. You know, so
Agricultural
I don't think it's
building.
fair. I'm biased. I'm trying to get ChatGTP to.
Agricultural buildings must have a minimum. Must have a minimum of blank inches. Yeah, just give me a second. I got to type every bit of this up so I know what to say.
Yeah, I just copy and paste it in there.
Well, that's in a PDF. I can't do that. Based
I just
on the
copy and paste the whole question, drop it right in ChatGTP.
National Electrical Code. Okay. All right. Now let me go over to share the screen. And we
Right,
will
so
see what it
There's
says.
no way I'm cheating. There's no way I'm biased on this.
Okay, so I got it popped in here. Everybody should be able to see that okay. And I'm just going to hit go and let's see what it says. Must have a 1.5 inches of air gap.
What? 1.5.
But I'm gonna have to go grab the National Electrical Code here real quick and tell them it's wrong. And I don't remember that it's like 547 something. I'll have to look. I think it's a quarter inch. Maybe it's right. I think it's a quarter inch.
Well, you'll actually be surprised when you go pull the National Electric Code, because it gives you an exception that if it's non-metallic, it doesn't need any air gap. So it's actually, the correct answer is 0 inches.
All right, it's 547.21. I don't see an exception there.
It says
Non-metallic fittings,
non-metallic
boxes, fittings,
enclosures.
conduits, cables shall be permitted mounted directly to any building service covered by this article without maintaining the quarter inch. Oh, okay. That's where I was at.
Boom! You're both wrong. Man and machine.
I'm looking to see. So it looks to me like there's no quarter inch allowance.
Nope.
So I got it wrong. Let me tell it this.
Gotcha. Number 3, gotcha.
That would be wrong. National Electrical. I knew there was something about a quarter inch, though. I don't look at that kind of stuff much.
Yeah, Jeremy. No, we don't act like we know it all, dude. That's you, bro. That's people that
547.21
don't like to have fun.
states. Okay, I sent it to it. Yep, okay. So it agrees with me. So
All right.
on that, I topped it in. We got it taken care of. All right.
Well, that's what's so funny about when we ask the ChatGTP the question, when it says something like way off the wall, 1.5 inches.
No, that ain't right.
Like
I knew that wasn't
I,
right.
I mean, that's like way out. Like, so I actually asked it. It gave me a 1/2 inch. It gave me 1 inch, and then now we see 1.5 inches. So
Basi-
it clearly
Basically,
didn't.
what it is, the main rule is 1/4 inch. But if it's in agricultural, it can be mounted up against it.
True, and I think that was a little bit controversial because I had E as there is no NEC requirement, and that is kind of a little controversial too.
Well, that's
because
why when I
technically-
read it, I was like, well, you didn't give 0, mounting it against it. So you had to have some type of space that could mount against it. That's
Right.
why I was sort of confused with what the problem stated. But-
Yeah, and like I say, I think that E could be considered a correct answer with there is nothing that requires spacing in the National Electric Code, but it does require spacing if it's not metallic, So
That's right. That's what I'm saying, non-metallic, and that's why I was confused when I read. I was like, well, I know there's a section there that covers that over in 547, and I remembered 1/4 inch being listed in there. So, actually, my first thought was you don't need a space if it's non-metallic, but I didn't see that, so I said, well, it must be 1/4 inch like the rest of it. So I'm gonna consider that a push.
Yeah, I agree. That was a really good way of me getting you number 3, baby. Oh,
That's
man.
not a get me. You didn't state it right because
Right?
it actually is in the code.
Yeah.
So
I have 0 inches was in there. 0 inches was one of the answers.
I didn't see 0 inches in there.
Yeah, it was A.
I'm gonna look at that.
But a lot of people said A and E.
Oh, it sure was. I looked right past that.
Yeah,
Okay.
which everyone says A and E was right. Which technically, if you ask me, the way it's worded, I think A is the only correct answer.
That was a tough one for me because
Yeah.
Okay, no worries. All right, let's get to Wall of Shame. Wrap this up. I'm getting hungry. I haven't eaten today. I'm freaking
right.
starving. I've been on
Let's do this.
this diet. I don't know if everybody can tell it in my face, but I've lost like 22 pounds. Been doing it
All right.
I'm in my 4th week. So,
Okay.
all right, here we go.
Shame. 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 Shame.
All right. Let's see
Yeah,
what.
so you're gonna love this one. And I don't know if I put oh yeah, 'cause this so this came from Electrical Hacks and Other Screw Ups Facebook page, Facebook group possibly. So,
Wow. They just
I
literally covered that sucker up.
Yeah, and the thing that's crazy is they're just still using it like nothing, like didn't even slow them down. Like, oh, there's an outlet, there's a receptacle.
You can see where they sort of punched in there to pull everything away from it so they could plug into it. That's freaking believable.
Yeah, I thought
Wow.
that was pretty crazy. So
It just goes to show
pretty
some
cool.
of the hack crap that's out there. Golly, that's
Yeah.
terrible. I mean, it really is. That's freaking terrible.
like I say, every given Thursday, we can find something that is gonna surprise you. You're gonna learn from. I have fun doing it. Sometimes we have guys that come out and just stroke out in the comments and like I don't know why
I don't
they
get
just
this.
stroke out in the-
I mean, he's just
Yeah,
trying
they
to
just-
find anything. I mean,
they
when
want
you say on anything, you're an idiot, apparently.
Yeah,
I mean,
like they don't want to, confront you with actual facts. It's just this like little
oh well,
child
have at it.
in the
Doesn't bother
in the
me.
chat stroking
Keep
at
doing
it.
it. You're
So
increasing my sales, Jeremy. I appreciate it.
yeah, and increasing our comments. Like it's pretty awesome. Like we keep getting awards from YouTube and stuff. So
Oh yeah, and
that's
the
pretty
viewers and stuff. We're getting all kinds of stuff that's going on, and I think we're really going to start picking up on TikTok and stuff. That that new software helps me with algorithms and stuff, and where I used to post and get maybe 20 views, now we're over 100, 200, 300. Just and people are starting to see it. It's starting to really pick up on Instagram, and
Yeah.
LinkedIn's picking up. I mean, give it time.
Yeah.
So,
I want to thank everyone. Nat King Code, I got like a performance bonus for my content, so I really
that's awesome.
appreciate it. I would have never done that without all the awesome people out there that's coming in, checking out Myth of the Week and checking out all the cool stuff, checking out all these people that just like stroke out in the comments and stuff, and it's all good, like I said, keep showing up. Jeremy Weed, like he wanted to drop his little alt with his little Gopher fan alt, but like it is what it is.
Morning,
We
baby.
yeah, I'll give you all hook 'em horns. I'll give you a double hook 'em horns.
Double them up, baby.
There you go. But thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Thanks, Adam, Team SOS podcast. Really appreciate you popping in, and really appreciate Daniel. Mr. E, David Englehart for popping in. I'm gonna need a lot more help in the death match. I think I only finished half of it last month, so I gotta step up my game and get it going. But
You know what happened? I
so-
turned it on and I didn't realize it, but somehow I accidentally clicked. I got a thing where you can click that it doesn't show the icon. Somehow I clicked it or something, and I thought it was on. And then I saw him make a post or a comment on it, and I was like, "What?" So I had, because on my side it shows everything. Of course, I'm creating everything, so it's going to show everything. So I created another account, went, and I was like, "Where the hell did it go?" And I went back to mine. It's there. I went over. I kept looking. I was like, "Something's wrong here." And so I went in. I started looking. I was like, "Oh crap! The icon thing's clicked off. That's why it's not showing." So I clicked it, turned right on.
Nice.
So,
well, I'm gonna get 100% this month, and I'm
there's some
coming
pretty
for you,
good ones
David.
in there. Got just a tick harder.
Yeah, it's all good. Like I say, I got you on this week, and like I say, I worked pretty hard. Going through the agricultural buildings one. There was a couple that got me when I went and took my test in 2001. So I thought, all right, I'll go to the tricky ones. That when I was remembering doing my test, there was some tricky ones, and I'm gonna be doing that from now on. I'm gonna be trying to get you, man. But
It seems
a lot
like
of
I
these-
miss one. It's something specialized, something I don't
Yeah.
look at anymore. But I'm pretty close to where I think it is. But that's just one of those. You just sort of, you don't deal with it all the time. Hell, I probably hadn't looked at agriculture stuff, and that's probably 7 years since I went out and was at that ranch. So.
yeah.
And that was a ground.
Well, you got your little cowbird out of it, so you got that.
Yeah, I did get that.
So,
All right, let's wrap it up. I'm ready to go eat. I'm
yeah.
freaking hungry.
Well, everyone out there, remember, make every day an easy day. I'm out.
Amen. Everybody have a good weekend, and we'll see y'all next Thursday.